Good evening, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This is Rich again, back for your third and final video blog of the night for Sunday, March 29, 2015, around 8:15 in the evening, Berwick, Massachusetts. The sun went down. It's going to be a cold night. Tomorrow's going to be some on and off rain showers, but next week's going to be pleasant. This upcoming week's going to be pleasant. Some news to report: Michigan State and Duke in the Final Four for the NCAA men's basketball tournament. The Boston Red Sox beat the Tampa Bay Rays by a score of 3-2 in 10 innings. Providence College is in the NCAA Frozen Four in Boston next in 2 weeks, which is good. Providence and in Boston University, which is nearby. Providence is only 35 miles from Boston. And the Boston Bruins beat the Carolina Hurricanes by a score of 2-1 in overtime. The Ottawa Senators lost to the Florida Panthers. The Bruins have a 3-point lead in the last wild card spot in the Eastern Conference of the NHL. And that's about it on the news. Third and final video blog subject of the night is my personality profile. Continuing to do personality profiles this stretch on great Philadelphia sports athletes, and I've reached the greatest Philadelphia Flyer of them all. I'm talking about Bobby Clarke, center. He wore number 16 for the Flyers, played 15 seasons with the Flyers, had a Hall of Fame career with them, and he's currently the vice president of the Flyers. Bobby was born and he grew up in Flint Flop, Manitoba, Canada, and he played organized hockey at the age of 8. At the age of 12, Bobby was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which, even though he was diagnosed with that, he still played hockey, and he was a great junior hockey player for his hometown in Flint Flon, Manitoba. He played for the Flint Flon Bombers, and he scored 172 goals during his junior career. But a lot of NHL scouts didn't even think Bobby Clarke would make a great player because he had type 1 diabetes. They thought he would be very weak and stuff. And a lot of teams held off on drafting him for the first round of the NHL draft in 1969. But the Philadelphia Flyers took a chance on him and took him in the second round of the 1969 NHL amateur draft, and that was a great move because for the next 15 seasons, Bobby Clarke was the heart and soul of the Flyers. He was the leader of the Broad Street Bullies, and 9 times he scored 20 or more goals in a season, which was good. 9 times he scored 50 or more assists in a season. 3 times he was a 100-point season, and he led the NHL in assists 2 times. He played in 8 NHL All-Star games. 3 times, Bobby Clarke was the NHL MVP. He was the first player in National Hockey League history from an expansion team to win the NHL MVP, which is a pretty remarkable achievement. And two times he was the NHL's first All-Star team selection, and 2 times he was the NHL's second team All-Star team selection for the postseason award. And he was Flyers captain on 2 separate occasions. And towards the end of his career, Bobby became more of a defensive forward. He won the Frank Selke Trophy in 1983. In 1972, Bobby won the Bill Masterson Award for dedication to hockey for him playing through type 1 diabetes. Even though he had type 1 diabetes, Bobby Clarke had an injury-free career for most of his time in the NHL. He only missed significant time in the 1981-1982 season when he injured his foot, and he missed significant time. But after that, he was, he hardly missed any time, and he was on 2 Stanley Cup winning teams, 1974 and 1975. At the end of the 1983-1984 season, Bobby Clarke called it a career. He retired at the age of 35, and he had 358 golds, 852 assists, and 1,210 points, which is an all-time record for scoring history for the Flyers and stuff. He is the all-time leading scorer in the Flyers history. And in the playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs, 42 goals, 77 assists, 119 points. The Flyers retired as number 16. After he retired from playing, the Flyers made him as the general manager, and for the next 23 years, Bobby Clarke was the general manager of the Flyers on and off. There was a time in the early 90s that Bobby left the Flyers to become general manager of the Minnesota North Stars, and he left the Minnesota North Stars to return to the Flyers and for 1 year, but then he became general manager of the Florida Panthers. Then a few years later, he came back to the Philadelphia Flyers, and he was Philadelphia Flyers GM until 2007. Then he became senior vice president for the Philadelphia Flyers. Bobby Clarke, as a general manager for the Flyers, was so-so at best. They never won a cup while he was general manager and stuff, and he made some good trades, but the most controversy he had was with Eric Lindros with contracts with him in like 2000, where Eric Lindros sat out a year and stuff like that he kind of had a frosty relationship with Eric Lindros towards the end. Eventually they traded him to the New York Rangers and stuff, and they say that Bobby Clarke and Eric Lindros hasn't talked for years, but they are back on speaking terms. And now that Bobby Clarke's part of the committee for the Hockey Hall of Fame selection, that Bobby Clarke's probably going to push Eric Lindros to become a Hockey Hall of Famer sometime in the next few years, which, that could happen. If that happens, I think number 88 is going to be retired by the Philadelphia Flyers for Eric Lindros' number. And Bobby Clarke also is in the Philadelphia Flyers Hall of Fame as well, and he's probably maybe one of the greatest beloved sports athletes in the history of Philadelphia, next to Mike Schmidt and Dr. J. Julius Erving and others. Well, that's about it on him. Tomorrow will be about Allen Iverson, guard of the Philadelphia 76ers for many years. He's the person I profile tomorrow. And Tuesday, to round out the Philadelphia sports superstars, will be longtime Eagles quarterback Donovan McNabb, number 5. Tomorrow's video blogs will be my review of WrestleMania 18 from Toronto Sky Dome, also known as the Rogers Center. Then the second video blog will be about the classic game show Jeopardy, the NBC syndicated years with Art Fleming, because like 51 years ago tomorrow, on March 30th, 1964, Jeopardy made its debut at 11:30 a.m. on NBC daytime. I'll tell you the history about the Art Fleming version of Jeopardy. Probably later on in the week I'm going to have to do the new version of Jeopardy, the Alex Trebek version, which started in 1984. And Allen Iverson will be the last feature. And Tuesday, I'm probably going to have to double up on WrestleMania 19 and WrestleMania 20 back to back, because that's the end of the WrestleMania reviews, because beginning April 1st, I'm going to start kind of reviewing some professional wrestling territories and stuff like that. And also April 1st will be the Major League Baseball 2015 preview, and April's personality profiles will be a lot of it. No, there will be no April Fool's Day video blog from me and stuff like that, and that's a guarantee. Well, good night, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. If you have any suggestions, shout out, private message me, follow me on Twitter, Chewy7 at Chewy7, and if you want to Skype with me, I'm open to a Skype conversation. Good night, everybody. See you tomorrow.